All right, more VCR-uary. Oh, that's such a stupid word. Here is, actually, this is a really neat little machine. This is a VCR, and yes, I'm calling it VCR. You'll see why shortly, maybe. Made by Radio Engineering Industries. And it's a coach series, and this is the kind of machine that would go on a bus, on like a tour bus. So if you're, on a band trip or a road trip, or a team is sports team's driving to another city and they're taking like a long haul highway bus and they want to watch a movie on the way there. Remember those monitors that would hang down on either side? There used to be VCRs on them. I'm assuming they're now DVD players or maybe digital video players, or maybe they don't even have them anymore because everyone would just be on their phone watching their own stuff. But back in the 90s, I remember riding on some of these for band trips and school trips, and you'd bring along movies and you'd go up the compartments at the very front, kind of up behind the driver, and pop a movie in and watch it. So I assume that's what this is from. VCR go to DVD function line 2. I'm assuming this was modified by the previous owner that I got it from. Because A, it's got this homemade handle on the side of it, so you can carry it. And also, it's had this barrel jack added. This video out jack might have been original to this. My understanding with, let's go here. My understanding with this company is that they sort of built packages for the bus builders and vehicle builders. So this probably, well, most definitely isn't actually made by these guys. They would take something like a radio head unit and modify it, and they also built their own stuff. But they made like packages, right? So like the microphones and the TVs and the radio on the front and the VCR and DVD player, all that kind of worked together, and they did like custom stuff. So this machine, I assume, when it left its original factory, well, it obviously wouldn't have had this connector here, but you can see that they actually screen printed video out on there. I wonder if this connector was there originally, because this is added, so there's really no other way to get power in. So I assume that this connector is factory. These are factory. This and this is added. This is VNC for video. Ooh. It's loose too. VNC would probably what they would have used, in like a commercial application. I don't think they would have used RCA. But this, I feel like it was added after the fact. And I have no idea the polarity of this, so we probably need to open it up. Just taking a look on the outside here to start with. So this is VCP connect, so video cassette player. This would go back to like the unit on the dash, so driver could hit play and rewind and stuff, and this would send all the power to it and ignition. Like, on a car, you have your main battery power, but then you have your low current ignition that goes to your radio. So when you turn the key on, it powers on. So looking at the front here, that says VCP on the back. But if you read, where did I see? Yeah, video cassette player / record. This has a speed button. You wouldn't have a speed button on a player because it should automatically detect it. You have this suspicious button here that says do, and it's got a light beside it. But it's a button. Please ignore my long fingernails. Typically with a do sensor, doesn't require any user input, it's just a light. So maybe this says record behind it. Otherwise it's pretty basic. It looks like it does have a remote. Tracking up and down, yeah, speed, play, fast forward, rewind, and visual search, stop, eject, and it's got auto repeat. So kind of a commercial application. And then power. Unit may not accept a tape if unit is cold. Allow it to warm up. The do function. And going around to the back again. Actually, what does this sticker on the bottom here say? This looks interesting. Oh, Radio Engineering. Model 700-523, Rev A, from February 1999. Oh, that's kind of cool. So this is 26 years old. 1999 doesn't feel like it should be 26 years ago. Don't know if I'm okay with that. Model V-2100, video cassette player with recorder function. So it's a video cassette player, VCP, but it has recorder. That's a VCR. This is just saying VCR with extra steps. Anyway, other information, I guess it comes with an AC adapter normally, and it inputs 12 to 14 volts, which is convenient because that's what automotive 12 volts is. With your alternator running, it's closer to 14. Yeah, let's open this up and see what's going on inside. Well, that didn't get me anywhere. Let's get this board removed. All right, board's ready to be removed. Before I do, I just wanted to show this barrel connector that was added, and it was just soldered to the board here. Now what's interesting is it looks like there's a spot for a board-mounted barrel jack. But if I look at the back here, it's absent. So this piece here is probably a custom piece that was added by that radio engineering company, and the original model probably didn't have this or this and just had a barrel jack on the back, and whoever had this later maybe added it to put in an RV. I'm guessing RV. That seems like the most likely. So does this just lift up now? Okay, this is actually getting quite interesting. When I was pulling this board off, I noticed that these wires are soldered to the top here. That's something that wouldn't be done in the factory when this was originally made. And I think my suspicions were kind of right about this being a custom piece on the back here. So it's actually made of metal, like painted metal. But I think this board here, 200-328, RAC1. Similar style part number to that one on the bottom. Then you have this other board here, 213 RAC2. So this, man, my white balance is so wacky. What is going on here? All right, that was weird. Anyway, this board here, so we've got what I assume is the audio here, and this cable here is the video, that are just kind of soldered up here, up and behind, there and there. And then these red wires, I assume, are power. And then that all goes to this connector here. So audio, power, video goes directly to B and C. And then, now I'm thinking this is a control wire. It goes to this board here. Actually, let's pull this board out. All right, first off, here's your deuce sensor. It's an aftermarket deuce sensor. Now here's this board that was added. It's November 18th, 1998 when it was manufactured. And this wiring harness here, so this one goes to the front panel, probably for that LED and switch. See 4 wires here, so maybe 2 wires for the LED, and I don't know what else. And then, oh, you know what? Actually, no. It's probably the do LED, but I wonder where the control portion happens, because I'm thinking that there's got to be some sort of control logic coming in here. And then the rest of these wires here are the ones that go up there and attach to that connector right there. Where does that go? That goes down underneath. Let's get this front cover off. All right, yes, those gray wires from over there that are soldered with these wires on top do in fact go to this front control board. And you can see that our mystery do switch is a record switch. Still haven't found any brand names in here. Oh, that's funny. Was that removed after the fact or never installed? So this had provisions for a remote sensor, but it was never installed. Anyway, I still haven't seen 1993? Wow. This was sold in 1999 and it was made in 1993? Like 1998, and we saw a sticker on here that was 99, I think on the bottom. $99. These guys must have just bought a stockpile of these to use. Anyway, I still haven't found any evidence confirming a brand, the original OEM in here. Okay, here's where the 4 wires go. One of them is on the back of the play button. One of them is on the back of the rewind. This green one here is on the back of stop eject. And then this brown is probably common? Probably common. Goes to that resistor. So that would make sense. You've got play, rewind, and stop. Watching a movie, you don't care about any other features. How are they doing that do sensor? Is that coming from up here? Oh, this gets great. So I was about to say I don't see any cut traces, but look at that. This is going to the record switch. I think that's record. That's record. So they just straight up cut that with a Dremel. And to continue along, the LED for record right here is this. This is ground, so this is the actual signal right here. And this thinner trace goes through a resistor right there and then works all the way over to one of these pins. And I just metered that out, and it's the purple wire up here. So the purple wire provides the do indicator LED. Now I assume they just tacked it on here because they knew that record would never function. There's no remote sensor, and they cut the trace here for the record switch. The white wire goes over here through this transistor to the rewind, hold that up, to the rewind LED. So we've got control of the record LED for do. We've got rewind. Now, I haven't bothered metering out the others, but I'm assuming they're play and stop doesn't have one. So yeah, these wires here and these are basically sort of taking this control board and moving it to a remote controller at the front of the vehicle. I found a manual for the REI System 2000, and this has, it's not quite exactly the same VCR, but it's similar. It says Coach Series. It's probably pretty close, and it has that same connector on the back. If we zoom in here, really? Downloaded it so we can actually take a look here. So this machine's obviously a little bit different manufacturer, but see they've got the same BNC video connector and this system control connector, which I assume is the same one that's on the back of mine. And they've given this handy pinout. So stop, rewind, play, power, shield, I'm assuming probably for the audio, left and right audio, which are just going to get tied together inside. Rewind detect, play detect. So rewind detect and play detect were those feedback wires. Plus 5 volts, I'm assuming this is to control that little circuit, that controller inside that was added. And then you have rewind, play, and stop. So these are the controls and these are the feedbacks. And then, yeah, power. And here's the controller that went at the front. So passenger, radio, video, auxiliary. So I guess what the passengers can listen to and or watch. Driver, radio, and auxiliary for audio. PA, so the driver can say something. And then you have play, stop, and rewind for video. Those are the controls you get. No fast forward. Don't need to fast forward, just watching movies. Look at that retro looking logo. Oh yeah. I appreciate the level of documentation that's just online for this. That's pretty cool. Does it have a date here? 2000. Yeah, System 2000. Year 2000. So now I'm left with a decision here. Well, we'll get to testing this out very soon. Do I leave it as is because it's a neat historical piece for, you know, they've designed it to go on like a bus, a coach, or whatever, and it's kind of neat. I really appreciate the little aftermarket work they've done here. Or do I undo it, restore the record functionality, and then have it as a little tiny VCR. I'm thinking what I might do is and I've already kind of done it, is just disconnect this control board and then put a bodge wire back on the record switch so that the record still works, but still leave the rest of this modification stuff intact just because it's cool, you know, little historical artifact. All right, I have it plugged into 12-volt power with my loud power supply. Appears to have turned on. Let's see what it do. Oh, it loads the tape. Yeah, it loaded the tape in there. I don't know if you can see that, but it's not playing, but it loads the tape.
What do you think?
Is that auto tracking?
I suppose we could travel with you a while.
Fast forward. Yes, you have first fast forward, but do you have second fast forward?
Fight against evil doesn't depend on our singing.
Well, is that ever loud?
We should all get some sleep.
It's... I don't know. No, is it the tracking? Okay, it is. I thought it might have been like wavering, like it wasn't logging in. So it's got auto tracking, but I can manually adjust it, I assume?
Where is your husband? Up here.
Yes.
It would be a place where
Now, that won't do anything. That's speed. Stop. Let's do rewind. What I don't understand is, why does it load the tape around the head if there's no counter? There's no on-screen display that I can see here. Focus. Really? Okay. There's no on-screen display here. And obviously there's no display on the front here. So what's the point of loading the tape? I guess it's just for quick controls like hitting play. And it plays right away. Seems to play okay. Maybe not. Color's a little weird. Actually, no, that kind of looks like shit now that The audio's so loud it's distorting.
New Colgate 2-in-1 toothpaste and mouthwash in Icy Blast Whitening. A unique liquid gel so cool it's hot. Colgate 2-in-1.
It's like clipping, but it's playing the tape. So this is a TV recorded SLP or EP tape. Let's try pre-recorded movie. See, does this automatically play when I pop? Oh, it's got a lot of resistance to push the tape in. Yep. So it does detect the record tab. Oh, I wonder if this lights when it's in EP mode, because this is the speed indicator. So it just went out because it's in SP. Ooh, yes, very two-head. Interesting looking dropout noise. Did I have this volume turned down? Do rewind scan. Looks perfectly fine. I mean, there's not much else to show here. I can hit play and I can turn auto repeat on. But, I mean, all that... Oh! Okay, so when you press auto repeat, it locks everything out and just, I'm assuming, plays to the end, rewinds, and plays to the end. Now let's get this top off here. I want to look at the mechanism. Okay, well that was a very annoying thing to get at. So you have to bend the two tabs here and here that hook onto this carriage support, and then this goes on there. You have to bend. And these extra wires that were added were glued on there, and then all these cables were tie wrapped on top. Okay, it wasn't really meant for service, whatever. So here's your fully race head, because this does record. Here's your audio control track head. There's your, I'm assuming, audio control track, and this would be the audio erase. A 2-head drum. And then this, which also says 1998. Maybe they were just mixing new and old parts. Again, not really recognizing this. Alright, record test time. I've installed a little tumor of solder there. I'm probably going to make that a little bit better later, but whatever, it's bridging it. Alright, I got a signal going in from the DVD player, playing just the standard test pattern I like to use on all these recordings, and I should just be able to hit record. Hey, it's recording. No LEDs, so maybe they did cut a trace for the LED. But it does appear to be recording. I'm on SP right now. So I'm going to wait just a little bit, and then I'm going to switch it. Maybe I can switch it live. Oh, I can. And that slowed it right down. So I'll record a little bit, and then hit stop. I play and rewind. Now, what does it look like? Oh, that's SP. That looks like absolute trash. Absolute trash. Look, it doesn't even... You can't even make anything out there, man. That is horrendous. Let's go back to SP again. Yeah. Yeah, this looks just terrible. A lot of chroma noise. It actually seems to look better on camera than it does in real life. It's really blurry. Let's do a color test pattern. Oh my god, that sounds bad. Everybody living now. That sounds atrocious. I mean, it's clear. Like, it's crystal clear. It's not muffled. But it is so tinny and scratchy. I'm going to get some YouTube music library, because I need to actually do a direct feed recording of this. You need to hear this. Okay, actually, that sounded pretty good. It added a really nice sort of audible aesthetic. Is that a thing? Yeah, anyway. I think it's just the CD player that played that first song I was testing was coming in a little hot, and either the automatic level control on this didn't account for it correctly, or maybe it doesn't have it. But the YouTube music sounded fine. I mean, what you'd expect for an EP recording of these. So, yeah. Now, I was just gonna clean up my little solder blob here, and I wanted to take a look to see, okay, where did they cut out the record LED? And then I saw this. Now, what's especially funny about this is there's still like dust on here. Like it was just cut. Like they never cleaned the board off after doing this. So this is where they just nerfed it with a drill, it looks like. So I should run a bodge wire from there over to where this purple wire is. And again, the question becomes, how far do I want to go here? Because like, okay, if I do that, then that means I'm disconnecting the purple wire. We're not going to have a do sensor anymore. And I should probably remove this do label. Also, this label's kind of weird. VCR go to DVD function line 2. That implies that this VCR was hooked up to a system that was new enough to have DVD, and they just VCR go to DVD function line 2. Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. That's probably going to go as well. If you wanted to get really silly, you could make a little battery pack for it and just carry it around for one of the old cameras. Those little portable VCR packs from the mid to early 80s, those are all failing. They're full of capacitor problems. They're usually made by Hitachi and even the Panasonic ones. Like they're a pain in the butt. Whereas this little guy is cheap and cheerful. And if I recall, was using about 650 milliamps at 12 volts. That's not too bad. It's what, like it's under 10 watts. So you could probably just smack some lithium battery pack on the side of this, attach a shoulder strap, and be one of those weirdos walking around with a Trinicon style camera and a little VCR. All right, I just wanted to get a look at the underside before buttoning this up. There's 3 screws that you remove, 2 on the back, so one there, one kind of in behind there, and then there's a third one straight down here. To get to that one, you just fake a tape and let the carriage go in, and then you can access that. I don't know if you can access it with a carriage out. Maybe you can. Anyway, I did that. But I wanted to just get some footage of the underside of this, and I still don't know who made it. This looks very familiar. I swear I've seen this in other machines, this exact mechanism. For the life of me, I cannot. And same with this date stamping here. I've seen this before. Can't place it. Please let me know in the comments. But the head drum appears to be a Sony. So, well, this machine I don't think is a Sony. It might be. I mean, this might be like a simple mechanism that Sony had. I thought they outsourced their simple stuff to, you know, Sanyo and other brands. But at any rate, yeah, it's just like a basic machine. I'm getting a lot of deja vu recognizing stuff in here, but again, can't place it. This is interesting. So this is kind of like Panasonic. I've seen this in Panasonic's. It's Panasonic, where you have a gear here, and then this moves forward and back, and it's a rack gear, I think it's called, to load the tape in and out. And what's interesting is this looks like it was just cut off. Like it looks like at one point it was designed to go further forward, but there's not enough space inside this case, so they just cut it. Like this is just a hodgepodge. But yeah, the belt on this looks good. All the lubrication looks fine. So yeah, I'm just gonna start buttoning this up. And the date thing is weird to me. So this board has a date of 1993, or a year of 93. Most of the components in here appear to say 98. Maybe that's a 3. I think, oh, actually that might be a 3. Okay. And the actual case here, let's zoom in, is 94. So this was sold as late as the late 90s, but I think this design dates back to 1993. All right, I just glued the do sensor on the side there just because it was dangling around earlier. Glued these back on. I've noticed that these capacitors are not the quality ones I'm used to seeing in these machines, both on the aftermarket board, or I guess you wouldn't call it aftermarket, but even on this main board here. What is that? What brand is that? Suscon? All right, I decided to restore record functionality. So we got my little speed button here. I uncovered the record switch, and now if I hit record, I do get the LED. So what I did, I did the little trace repair on the back here, and I also put put a bodge wire. I just scraped away whatever trace was left on that one. Yeah, it looks nasty, but whatever. And then tied it to this wire here. And then the dew sensor wire, I just kind of heat shrunk and bent over here. It's available, but it's not going to be used on this one. Even though I did just glue it on the side here. So everything's put back together, even this janky barrel plug that someone added. Ideally, I'd like to put a barrel plug here and maybe drill a hole on this metal back plane so that I have a proper barrel jack. I just don't have any scrap ones kicking around here, so I'll have to keep a lookout, because I think that would make this a little bit more seamless. But yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it as it is right now. It's a sweet little machine. It's definitely cheaply made. Made in China. You can tell the component quality isn't the greatest, but you know, given that this thing is at least 26 years old, possibly more depending on the age of the components, like it looks like this was made for a very long duration, manufactured for or sold for quite a few years. Because I mean, it's a 2-head VCR that goes in an automotive application. How many new advances do you think there were between 1993 and like the early 2000s? Now, they went straight from this design to, I think that newer one that I saw in that schematic was V-2100, but otherwise it looked very similar. I was thinking it also might be fun to add a remote sensor back here. The problem is, I still don't know who designed this, right? Like, this board is for this machine, but the mechanism's probably like a hodgepodge of whatever they could buy. But I don't know where I would find the remote or the remote codes. So I could put a sensor on here, but you know, who knows if it works. Now, one thing I thought of to try and figure out who made this is the FCC ID. So you can see it says ATI 9R3 VCP 450. Now the first bit, the grantee code, ATI seems to be for Action Electronics. All the way back in like 1982, 94. Yeah, so I haven't really heard much of Action Electronics. Maybe it's AudioVox? AudioVox did a lot of this sort of RV gear. And Shenzhen Action Electronics. But yeah, some of these AudioVox machines look very similar. Like this looks like a newer version that doesn't have record to the one that I'm playing around with. So Action Electronics, which I guess is AudioVox. Although this is completely different. This is made in Korea, so it's probably like Daewoo, Samsung, Gold Star. The FCC ID is completely different, of course. And AudioVox is out of Elkhart, Indiana. So yeah, not really sure. Action Electronics might be its own thing that's sold to different companies. And just to add to the confusion, here's a search result from the Radio Museum. Actual Action Electronics. Here's an interesting thought. Same company, REI. This is a surveillance system VCR. And it looks pretty similar in controls to the one that I'm playing with right now. Speed, record, remote sensor, fast forward, rewind. It does have a menu on here, so it's probably newer, but same idea, probably made by the same company. But this record feature might have been intended more for surveillance type features. So they bought the same machine and then tailored it to either the entertainment side, like the one I have, or the surveillance system. Well, I think that's about it. It seems to be working fine, records fine. It seems to be very low use. I do find this high-Q pretty funny. VHS HQ is sort of a spec to get slightly better quality. So when you see HQ on a VCR, it's not just boasting about a higher quality machine. It's actually a spec that was integrated. It helped a little bit. I visually notice more difference just between the manufacturer's video processing than I do HQ, but I'm assuming that's what this means, and the person just didn't quite understand and put high Q. Or maybe this doesn't have VHS HQ and this is sort of a different thing. Anyway, if anyone knows who the OEM for this is. Who actually put this together in China? Was it someone I'd be familiar with? Is it just a no-name company that sold to other companies like REI? Yeah, let me know. But otherwise, I think this is a perfectly cool little low hours portable VCR. And maybe in the future I'll drill a hole here and put a proper barrel plug. And then I'll probably take this out and put a little blank plug in there. Actually, what I could have done is I could have run this through the back here. Maybe I'll still do that. Yes, like that. So just put a little label there showing the voltage and polarity. Had to cut that RF shield a little bit. Oh well. Oh yes, that's beautifully janky. That's much better. Anyway, now the video's done. Thanks for watching.